Hi. As Leanne and I sat down today to think about, what would be a good topic of conversation, we came upon the notion of collaboration, right? And one of the things I've always appreciated about you, Leanne, is the highly collaborative environment that we created for each other, right? And I'm very grateful for the times that we spend together and the collaborative work that we do. And it got us thinking, what are the elements of collaboration? What makes for good collaboration? Because it's palpable when it's there, right? And it's different than what we'll call, say, cooperation, where, okay, I'm cooperating, I'm doing things with someone, but there's something different about collaboration.
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah.
And so it's like, well, what is it, right? And I'll speak for myself here in terms of that, is one of the things that I recognized was the complementary nature, right? That we have a lot of things in common, yet there's some things that are very different and unique about you that are different and distinct from me, right? And so I think the overlapping complementary nature is helpful.
Yeah.
And then the differences. So we're not so different that we have nothing in common.
Right.
We're not so much in common that there's no added value. Right?
Monoculture, yeah.
Right. And so that's it. But then even thinking further than that, well, because I can think of lots of times when, there was people that I had things in common with and didn't, but I didn't have that high level of collaboration. And so I thought, well, what else is it? And for me, it came down to how could I use the relationship that we formed together for the benefit of others, right? So as I thought about from a leadership perspective, people that I was working with, how could Leanne and I working together benefit people that I work with beyond just what I bring, right? And so I thought about that and said, oh, well, clearly, there's an opportunity to add more value. And so for me, collaboration meant, how do I engage with people that I can create more value, right? For the leaders that I serve, but also it's a value to me because I learn things from you, as we work together.
Same.
And my life is enriched by, the work that we do in the benefit. So there's something about, being humble around recognizing that I can't be all things to all people, leaders that I serve. And so I need other resources. And so I'm looking for who else can I bring? And I look for people who are high quality, like yourself, right? But also not so egotistical that you have all the answers, right? And it's like, hey, you bring certain values, but you're also open and curious around what else could be possible, right? And to me, those are really good conditions for high collaboration. So how about from your perspective?
Yeah, it's a great reflection. The conditions for great collaboration, right? So there's conditions within ourselves and conditions that we seek to create with another. So within myself, I have to be ready for and receptive of the energy and the ideas and the input and the different ways of working that will likely result from a collaborative partnership, which means there needs to be space for new ideas. And like you say, if you're so full of your own ideas and your own self, there's no space for any collaboration to grow. So that's kind of first, like a little gut check within ourselves when we think about any project. We're talking about when we chose to collaborate with one another, we weren't part of an overarching organizational structure that required that we collaborate with one another. People throw around terms like, oh, let's collaborate together. But in reality, they're really just having to collaborate because they have to work on a project that two stakeholders have to work together on to accomplish a common goal within an organization. You don't always have choice, but you do have choice as to how you create the conditions within yourself to give the business relationship the most possibility to evolve into a true collaboration. And so if I am honest with myself, I'm like, is there space on a particular topic or a particular focus of our work together that I actually have openness to new ideas. I can't pretend that I know it all, right? I mean, I kind of live my life like that in general, but there might be some topics in which you're more of an expert. And so you really have to ask yourself, am I really open to that, insight and that collaborate, different perspective anyway, or new ways of working together? Or do I kind of want to run things the way that I've run things for a number of years if you become a true expert? So it's a good first step, I think, to say within myself, do I have that condition? Do I also have the urge to learn? Am I curious? Am I also responsible for my own contributions to collective success, or the collaboration not working out as effectively? We've all been part of working relationships that have this promise, but they fail to kind of, you think 2 + 2 could not only equal 4, but my experience with us, Rick, is that it's like 2 + 2 is way more than 4. It's like exponentially more. And you've been part of probably work relationships where that is the case, and they're energy giving. They generate energy, like working together. I always walk away having learned something new. Even if there's a lot of challenges going on in life or work as a whole, I feel energized, right? It's a little bit of another litmus test to see, can I not only contribute energy, but also receive different ways of thinking or being? And does the partnership create more life-giving kind of perspectives? And so I think starting first with like, am I ready for that? And then am I ready to also maybe leave the relationship in a better place? Or sometimes it might be your insight that you want to share, actual knowledge, but oftentimes it's maybe you do bring new possibilities that you see from your angle that the other person didn't see. So maybe that's one of the things that you bring to the partnership: new possibilities, new perceptions. But create the conditions within yourself, and then create the conditions that you want to leave with the other person or the work around you. That's some initial thoughts that I usually bring.
Yeah, I love this notion of energy and receptivity, right? Because when you're collaborating or cooperating or doing any type of work, it takes energy, right? And so at the end of an activity, you think, wow, even though it was a lot of challenging work or whatever, do I feel energized, right? I feel, even though I might even be exhausted at the moment because I spend a lot of energy, I really feel good about how I use that energy. And certainly in our collaborative work, I experience that, right? It's wonderful, right? But this notion of receptivity, being open to like, hey, I'm going to learn something from you, you're going to learn something from me, and collectively, our ability to be receptive to, throwing out ideas, saying, oh, I like that, or, you know what, it's not landing on me, right? Or let's keep working through that, right? I think it is an important element of collaboration. And, you mentioned earlier, it's like, hey, sometimes we don't always get to choose who we work with, right? And so we would be advocates of trying to collaborate where possible. Can you create conditions within yourself, which you can control?
Right.
But you may not be able to control the conditions in others, but hopefully communicate with these in ways that you could influence their thinking, perhaps. Not a little bit, maybe a lot. Because from a cooperation, I think of cooperation as to assist. Okay, I'll cooperate, I'll comply, right? Because I have to. And sometimes you're in a situation where I just need to comply. I'm duty bound by my role to engage with this person, maybe minimally, in order to show that, hey, I'm fulfilling my duties, right? And that's a mindset of compliance, right? And I'm wondering, like, what might be possible in terms of how you might engage somebody who you're just cooperating with or complying with, to figure out how might we elevate the way we work together to get more collaborative. Because ultimately, I think if you're collaborative, you're way better off than if you're just cooperative.
Yeah, and I think elevate is the key word there, right? Because at minimum, you can cooperate with someone very politely, very effectively. You can exchange your work deliverables in a timely manner. You guys can actually accomplish things together. But there's really not that much co-ownership or growth or expansion that results, in my humble opinion. When I'm cooperating with somebody, it's a little more, it's not transactional per se, but it's less of an elevated kind of sense of connection with the person. When I'm checking for the level of collaboration that can be invited in and established, I'm also assessing to what degree there's emotional intelligence, so what degree there's self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. Because when there's a higher degree of self-awareness and kind of personal ownership of what I bring to the table, both hopefully some value add, but I'm going to bring, if I'm human, I'm probably going to show up imperfectly and there's going to be flaws in what I do. And so can I own that? Can I also say, hey, I was reflecting on how we interacted on XYZ project last week, and I think I want to just own that. I don't know that I showed up with the most expansive mindset that day. I really think you challenged my way of thinking. I want to revisit this decision that we made because I think there's something in what you were sharing that I wasn't really listening to, and I think maybe I was wrong to not, just shut down that dialogue earlier. So I really want to thank you for offering that, and just own that maybe I could be more expansive. So can we unpack this idea a little bit more? For example, I'm just making up an instance where that degree of conversation, that degree of reflection, that degree of owning that we are collectively going to create great results, or we're collectively going to create results that nobody wants. Like that's a different, could happen, right? Like that's a different level of, I don't know, it's just more authentic, it's more human. I personally just don't have time for not taking ownership collectively. We just can't achieve the exponential level of results that this world calls for right now, I feel like. So if I'm assessing, all right, well, this person can kind of go to this level of openness, but beyond that, there's a level of discomfort or not personal ownership, then I know, okay, we can elevate beyond mere cooperation to maybe, I don't know, level 1 collaboration, but we might not be like a level, I'm making stuff up, there's no levels that I know about.
Yeah.
Level 3 collaboration, a higher exponential level of collaboration, until we can have that conversation on a relationship and maybe talk about, hey, I notice we get to this point and I'd love to be able to go even to a deeper, higher level of collaboration. But that to me is an essential ingredient. And I think because like in our work together, we do that regularly. I recognize in the regular workplace, you may not have time or inclination to do that with everybody, but it's sort of looking at, well, what are the key projects that I'm really working on? What's going to make the most meaningful difference to the organization for those we serve? And how might I help us together elevate and create that condition within our relationship? Because here's the thing, it ripple effects out then too and starts to change the culture around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think about, that collaboration, one other thing that triggered for me as I was listening to you was this notion of, I want to make sure that you're getting a good experience out of the collaboration, that I'm getting a good experience out of the collaboration,
right? And
that the leaders that we serve, the teams that we facilitate, whatever it might be, are getting a high quality experience. That's right. And we can't have a miss on any of those.
Agreed.
To get to the collaboration level that we want, right? So I can't say, well, it was good for me,
right?
But but you didn't really get what you needed, and maybe the client did, or the client did, but we didn't get what we needed out of it. So it's this triumvirate of it needs to fulfill what's important for you, what's important for me, and collectively we could do that in service of others, right? And it's this service mindset, of making sure others are tended to and get what they need first, right? By doing that, I think picking the right partner, we get ours fulfilled as well.
And that's the one of the secrets of great collaboration, but also of more kind of abundant impact and flow, is to really start with what's in service of the collective good around you. So in your case, it might be your team, your organization, your stakeholders, and the individual needs, right? So Like with any personal or business relationship, when you're thinking not only about individual needs and interests and stakeholder needs as like something like delineated and bullet pointed, but you're thinking about sort of the shift in the sense of possibilities or the culture, like what can you collectively instill in the landscape around you. Now you're at a higher degree of possibilities. And that's, I think, where some of the magic flows from.
Yes. And so we would encourage you to think about the relationships that you have and where are you in a collaborative environment, in a collaborative relationship, and where are you merely cooperating? And I would invite you to think about how might you, even if you have to just cooperate because the other party is not in a collaborative mindset, that you could still be in a collaborative style of cooperation, right? And there's some magic in attracting other people who are like-minded and collaborative when you behave the way you would like others to show up. It may not always happen.
No.
Right? And in fact, there might be situations where you're cooperating in a collaborative mindset, and you have to be careful to make sure that you are not taken advantage of,
Sure.
as a result of that. But at the same time, you're being the person you want to be in terms of manifesting yourself as a collaborative professional or person, and see where that takes you versus the trap of I'm just going to cooperate, I'm going to do the minimal, I'm going to comply. That's a more of a diminished mindset or a scarcity mindset. And so how do you show up, for your relationships in a collaborative way or in a cooperative way with a collaborative style? So spend some time thinking about that. And we hope this has been helpful for you in terms of your reflection on your relationships and creating the ones that are most desirable for getting you what you want and others as well.